Hello everyone, and welcome back to an episode of BCP Rail News. I'm your host, BCP Rail, and today we are talking about the announcement of the new route that is coming to Trainsim World, and that is ScotRail Express, Edinburgh to Glasgow, which arrives on the 26th of January. It is £30. It's made by Rivet Games. Now, those who know my channel and how I do the news, I would have the article on the video, but DTG haven't bothered to put the article up yet, as well as the roadmap, so none of that's on, where you go into Dovetail Live, and then you go to articles. Nothing's there. Nothing at all. So in the background will be Cathcart Circle gameplay, as it is quite, well, it's Scottish. I like Scotland. Take on modern put my teeth back in. Take on modern Scottish traction with the ScotRail Class 385 electric multiple unit between Scotland's two biggest cities. Trainsim World 3 ScotRail Express Edinburgh to Glasgow, coming January the 26th. Now, Class 385 is made by Hitachi, so they've got no excuse for the cracked sounds, as you know, we have Hitachi motors in the game already in terms of the Class 395. It's also the first other Hitachi training game that isn't a Class 395, so I'm looking forward to drive something different but familiar. And if you ask me, it's a cracking train. Wink wink. If you know, you know. So, new year, new content. Before last year's festivities, some of you may have seen some teases of forthcoming content for Trainsim World 3. And many of us, including myself, were very quick to identify the distinctive cab end of the ScotRail's Class 385. The modern electrical multiple unit will form the rolling stock for Trainsim World 3's first release for our partner programme, Trainsim World 3 ScotRail Express Edinburgh to Glasgow by Rivet Games. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rivet Games have worked on Trainsim World and released stuff before, in the form of a Rosaline, the original Isle of Wight, Zentral's Bahn, Luzern to Cersei, Island Line 2022, and of course West Cornwall Local. Each to their own, I guess. I like the Rivet routes. They're well modelled. They've got some questionable detail, but they do try, and you can see they do try, and hats off to them for doing so. However, the screenshots, which I will put at the end of this video, look absolutely amazing. So, this is the longest route they have done. It clocks in at 47 miles, which is 3 miles longer than West Cornwall Local. Both cities are represented in detail, making use of the iconic railway vista with the Balmoral Hotel looking gracefully over Edinburgh Waverley Station. But it's actually a Hilton Hotel. I know because I've been there. Oh, well, that was a crap stop, oh well. Along the line lie a succession of stations familiar to those who regularly use the route, some of which were teased by Rivet Games themselves before Christmas. Linlithgow, Polmont and Falkirk High are just some of the locations separated by impressive viaducts, and through Glasgow will be familiar to players of the Cathcart Circle add-on. This route sees players arrive at the gloriously renovated Glasgow Queen Street rather than Glasgow Central. So this is a bit about the 385. Moving virtual passengers along this intercity line is ScotRail's Class 385. Dressed with the saltire and national colour of Scotland, Inside the trains are a number of small but important details, such as the inclusion of accessible seat covers, nice, in the appropriate locations, and the introduction of a working train monitoring system, TMS for short, which is on the little screen in the cab. I mean, the 314 doesn't have it, it's old. But hey-oh. A long-awaited and highly requested feature will see PIS announcements in the game for the first time, with the TMS capable of altering the frequency of announcements along with a selection of categories. Such a feature brings an additional layer of roleplay and immersion into this train sim World 3 route, as well as an extra tool to set up when preparing the train for a selected service. The announcements can also be heard from AI Class 385 services for added immersion when roaming on foot. So that's a nice addition that people have been asking for a while. That's onboard train announcements such as this is a ScotRail service to Glasgow Queen Street, calling at places like Haymarket, Parliament, Falkirk High, etc, etc. A lot of people have been asking it for a while, which is cool. We're finally getting it. GG to Rivet for putting it in. The train itself, with other Rivet stock, looks absolutely brilliant. It looks modelled well. The route looks absolutely modelled well, which is typical Rivet. They've always been good at modelling. I mean, just look at this, because they did help with Cathcart Circle and the stations. And yes. On top of this, the working guard panel was introduced into the Island Line 2020 route add-on, and the automatic blinds for the first class section of each train is also featured in the Class 385. Epic. So, again, new features coming in. And the unit itself, the 3 and 4 car overhead electric units with a top speed of 100 miles an hour, will operate densely timetabled services between Edinburgh and Glasgow, as well as stock moves from their depot. Excellent! So we've got full runs between Edinburgh and Glasgow, as well as depot moves, which is epic. What other Rivet route do we have that has depot moves? Hardly any. Same for DTG, to be fair. Contemporary Scottish traction has long been requested by the community since the relief of Cathcart Circle. Yeah, I wouldn't mind more Scottish traction, to be fair. And since being introduced to the Scottish Railway network in 2018, the Class 385 has played an important part in keeping Scotland's rail services modern, clean, spacious and better for the environment. Now, this is where this news episode takes a negative note. Those wishing to make use of the Class 385 and Cathcart Circle could do using Scenario Planner. Now, I don't think that's good enough. Personally, I don't. Scenario Planner is crap, okay? It just is. There's hardly any paths. There's 20 services you can do, which is shit. When you think of, you can't really you can make what, about half-hour scenario service and it'll look alright, but for those who are real players that don't want 20 services, because that's crap. Okay. Anyway, Edinburgh to Glasgow will also bring some unique and first-time features to the environment of Trains in World. AI-controlled trams run through Edinburgh suburbs, and Edinburgh Castle leans over the line as trains leave for Glasgow. Scenery is characterised by the abundant greenery around each of the 8 intermediate stations, along with cuttings bordered by steep rock faces, particularly noticeable when leaving Edinburgh Waverley. Yep, it's like that in real life. The route will also take advantage of the all-weather and lighting updates of Train Sim World 3 so that service can run in the various seasonal conditions experienced across what will be the northernmost route in Train Sim World. I tell you, it looks absolutely beautiful. With all the Train Sim World routes, there will be a load of collectibles to find, including a locally relevant haggis plushies and bagpipe-themed suitcases. Now, another thing I like with Rivet is that they give us different and distinct collectibles. So, whereas DTG will give us nonsense like maps, posters, newspapers, fire extinguishers, first aid kit, it's getting boring. We get it all the time. It's clicking, it's Control V, Control C, copy and paste. Whereas Rivet have given us cool stuff like dinosaur plushies. They give us, yacht hats, like captain hats. They give us something relevant to that route. It makes that route feel more important. Now, somebody on the forums said that this is a racial stereotype. No, it's not. It's something that is well known in Scotland. It's what Scotland is known for in haggis and bagpipes. So, to the person who thinks it's a racial stereotype, look in the mirror and shut up. What a load of old nonsense. A number of hidden interiors to some station buildings are also accessible, and the classic ScotRail planters seen in Cathcart Circle return as static scenery objects. Trains in World 3 ScotRail Express Edinburgh to Glasgow arrives for Trains in World 3 on January the 26th for Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 if it hasn't got any limits, Epic Game Store and Steam. It will be available for £30, $40 and €36. Estimated download size for the PlayStation Folk is 4 GB. There will be a preview stream on the 24th of January at 7 o'clock. Now, that's where the article ends. However, on this week's roadmap, JD did an interview with Jasper, who works for Rivet Games, and I'm going to discuss what was said in this interview, what I can take out of this interview and stuff like that. Now, in tonight's roadmap stream, JD announced that there is going to be future articles about timetable and layers and all that jazz, which is exciting because we can find out how many services there are, if there's any layers and all that jazz. So, Jasper was asked, why this route and this loco? Jasper said, Edinburgh to Glasgow was one of the routes we wanted to do for quite some time now. It's right at our doorstep, has a cool new train running on it, and it also features many remarkable areas that we wanted to bring and now have into Trains from World 3. What have you learnt from your previous TSW add-on releases and from building the route? That we love the idea of going beyond what players expect gameplay-wise. We started this on our Island Line 2022 when we opened up several areas for the players to walk into. I must admit, I did think that was quite cool. In your last add-on, Island Line 2022 was the last for Train Sim World 2. What has been the difference between developing an add-on for Train Sim World 2 and Train Sim World 3? Jasper said the lighting is drastically different and presents a multitude of new challenges and different ways to work. In what period is the route set? The route is set here and now. That means you can experience a real, true-to-life version in Train Sim World 3. So the route is set in 2023. What was the most challenging part of creating this add-on? Waverley Station was one of the most challenging stations we've ever done. Undertaken by two artists, they tried to capture an accurate representation of the model and bring it to life in Trains in World 3. And Edinburgh to Glasgow was a very dense route for a small team like ours. We had to prioritise stations and scenery while still finding time to implement new features. Describe the route in 3 words. Detailed, authentic, Scottish. What has it been like working with ScotRail? Working with ScotRail has been a pleasure. They're always quick, super helpful, and overall just nice people. Rivet Games are based in Scotland. How excited are you to bring our second Scottish route to Trains in World? Very excited. So many of us have been using this route in real life, and rebuilding it for Train Sim World 3 was a super exciting experience. This is your longest route to date, clocking in at 48 miles / 77 kilometres. What stations can players expect you to stop at en route? The route is framed by two breathtaking stations: Edinburgh Waverley with its massive glass and metal roof structure and the many open spaces at one end, and Glasgow Queen Street with its unique approach at the other end. Both feature a very unique and different architecture. In total, there are 10 stations along the way for you to discover. Are there any surprises in store in the scenarios for this route? We always aim for interesting scenarios, with unusual and challenging situations different from what's in the timetable service, but that would ruin the surprise. What iconic landmarks can players expect to see when they're driving the route? We've spent some time making sure the route features as many remarkable buildings and structures as possible. This includes the famous Edinburgh Castle, which is scenically lit at night times, and it looks absolutely beautiful, as I can see it's right in front of me. The Scott Monument and other many scenes around Edinburgh, as well as the Avon Railway Viaduct, Murrayfield Stadium and the Edinburgh Tram as a working AI train. Excellent. With the Island Line 2022, players really enjoyed the amount of exploring on foot they could do. Is the same approach taken on this route? Absolutely yes. With Edinburgh Glasgow, we're adding even more walkable areas, sometimes hidden behind doors. Upped the quality of our station interiors by a lot to make it interesting to wander around, added usable lifts and elevators, and interactive pianos? What? Interactive pianos? No. You know, I do like to find a piano in a station and bash out some Bohemian Rhapsody. Not that they can use that for due to copyright reasons, but, you know, I do like a piano in a station. It adds to life, basically. So there's definitely a lot to explore on the route. So, how much of Edinburgh Waverley is accessible? You're able to explore the front half of the station with this release. It includes 2 ramps going up to the street where you can enjoy a view onto the tracks from a custom platform. There's 1 working elevate lift, and players can go over its iconic walkway, getting a perfect overview of the station. Cool. What collectibles can players expect to find on this route? We have traditional ones like the Edinburgh themed poster, the route map, and 2 more traditional Scottish ones. A haggis plushie which you can put on a hat, and a suitcase which reveals bagpipes. Once collected, the iconic ScotRail planters, however, are not included as a collectible, they're just pure scenery object. What is your favourite part of the BR Class 385? Definitely its iconic look, combined with the features it packs you'd expect from a modern train like this. What was the most challenging part of creating this locomotive? The overall layout of the train. There are many different layouts for the individual coaches, which makes working on the model difficult, because we'd often need to remember that we need to apply that little change to all the other versions as well. What unique features have you implemented onto the 385? With the 385 we're bringing working TMS, which is a train monitoring system, for the first time in Train Sim World 3. From there you can control a number of things, including our new announcement system. You can select from multiple categories, and if a certain announcement plays, just once or more often. Of course, we also kept the working guard panels we introduced with the Island Line 2022, and we added automatically setting blinds depending on the sunshine in the first class section of the train. Ah, window blinds, duh. I thought I had no clue what it meant by blinds, but it's not about window blinds. Will there be any tutorials for this local? Of course, there's a tutorial. Oh no. Another negative, the tutorials on the training centre suck. So I'm calling it now. The tutorial for the 385 is driving around that small loop with 2 stations on the training centre. That's boring. It's Control C, Control V, copy and paste. What physics considerations did you need to take into account for the loco? A big point with the physics of this train is that dynamic braking power should be similar regardless of how many coaches you have, and so this is taken into account via the simulgraph by checking the weight of the train. There is also a blending of air to complement the electric braking, which will kick in to help reach the target deceleration or to get the job done if you don't have any power. So that is what Jasper has said about Edinburgh to Glasgow. Also, in other news, the PlayStation add-ons manager is close to a final test build, and hopefully that'll be out soon. The Needle Barn has been named, as well as the Axella and the Steam Rail Tour pack for West Cornwall. And Skyhook Games are working on a UK route which is diesel electric and diesel hydraulic, set in the 2011 plus era. It makes me think it's somewhere in Wales with a class 168 and class 70. However, this is just speculation. Thank you all for watching this episode of BCP Rail News. I hope you see you in the next one, and I hope you have a good night, a good day, or a good morning wherever you are. Goodbye for now.